Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are continuing our journey into the Mark Waid run of Fantastic Four. Uh, Last when we left off, we got some just kind of usual stories about the Fantastic Four, but we saw that Doctor Doom was starting to make his move, and today we're going to continue looking at Doctor Doom's attacks on the family, I should say.
Yeah.
There are two main stories, and there's a couple issues in between. It's Unthinkable is the first storyline,
hmm
and then the second one is Authoritative Action. Uh, Before we get started, I'll say right off the bat, Unthinkable's fine. Authoritative Action's the that's where the main stuff happens.
Right.
So we will get into it. Once again, I've read these stories 20 something years ago, and Caleb's never read these stories before, so he's
Yeah.
pretty new to this. So let's hop into it.
Cool.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and just so at this point, I would say like our first foray into, well, I guess our first foray into Fantastic Four was maybe like a year and a half ago or something like that. And I wasn't uh I wasn't too jazzed about it. I guess I
Yeah,
thought
we
I
have
thought it was
read
okay.
some of the Stan Lee classic stuff. Yeah,
Um, and then for Mark Wade, it was last week with I looked it up, and apparently that series of short uh, like short story arcs collectively is known as Imaginauts, which then is followed by Unthinkable.
hmm
And I've realized something that like Unthinkable and Authoritative Action, this is my bag. um, it's the which if I may, I would assume that this is less of the norm for Fantastic Four. I would imagine, something like Imaginauts, something like the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff is more of the norm, more of your Doctor Who stuff, your Legends of Tomorrow, um,
Star
your
Trek.
Star
Yeah,
Trek, yeah, which
your science adventures is what those are.
right, science adventures, exactly. Um, but yeah, Unthinkable and Authoritative Action definitely more my bag. So I think we're gonna find out throughout this introducing me to Fantastic Four is like um, maybe I'm not a fan of Fantastic Four, but there will be certain storylines that I adore, such as these.
Or maybe you're just a Doctor Doom fan.
Well, we already knew that. I play Doctor Doom in every Marvel vs. Capcom game.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it gives you any perspective, the RDJ news pissed me off way more than the Pedro Pascal news.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so since you brought that up, I guess this is spoilers for a movie that isn't out yet.
Mhm.
It's sounding more and more like uh, Chris, what's his name,
Evans.
Evans, will be playing the Hydra version of Captain America in these movies. So
Right, because they of course need to adapt the beloved Secret Empire.
well, I
Uh,
think we're gonna get a Dark Avengers, but not the kind we're used to. So it's gonna be like an evil Tony, an evil
yeah,
Chris, evil Black Widow, and maybe we'll get Maestro Hulk, which would be cool. But if, again, it's Ruffalo playing Maestro, so I don't know how cool that is.
what'd be fun is if it was Edward Norton playing Maestro.
Yeah, that
That'd
would
be
be
fun.
cool. That would
Uh,
be
how,
really cool.
how do you so an evil Thor? There are plenty of evil Thors,
Yeah, we
right?
had Ragnarok the robot. Um, You could do something like that.
What if, and I'm just gonna do this just because I want to piss you off, because you know that there's the idea that they could do it. What if it's Beta Ray Bill?
Beta Ray Bill. I think
They
that'd
they
be
do it.
audience confusion. Because they'd be like, "Who is this guy?" It makes more sense if it's an evil Chris Hemsworth than some random horse alien that just shows up. So
Yeah, which that means that we're not getting Doctor Doom, probably.
So I'm hearing that what is the Avengers movie called? Doomsday.
Doomsday.
That the main characters or the main heroes are going to be the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, which is like, then why is it an Avengers movie?
Well, and the weird thing is you've got we'll get to Mark Waid here in a second, but honestly, we don't really talk about news anymore anyway. But
Yeah.
sometimes we'll get into it. The weird thing is you've got the Fantastic Four being the main characters of your uh, Avengers movie, which is a gamble because first of all, they're your most recent characters. That's like if Captain Marvel was the main character of Endgame. Um, and B, Fantastic Four still might suck. So it'd be kind of like I think one of the worst parts about the Netflix story arc that they had a couple years ago was they had some good stuff, but then like the last thing right before Defenders was Iron Fist, and Iron Fist was the worst of them.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Iron Fist was the main character of the Defenders. So it's like they gambled everything on this new character that they thought people were going to just gravitate towards. So they already made the crossover centered around this character. And so the fact that, I mean, like, no, everybody's convinced that Brave New World and Thunderbolts is going to suck. But then, like, oh, but I have high hopes for Fantastic Four. And I'm like, I have about the same hopes for Fantastic Four as the other two.
Yeah. Well,
So
we're seeing what you just described with Iron Fist, where the audience rejected Falcon as Captain America, and yet they're trudging forward with this movie coming out, and we'll see how the box office is. So,
and then you have your other main character be Spider-Man, who apparently is never a guarantee in this universe. So it definitely. The closer we get to Doomsday, the more I'm like, oh man, if it sucks, the reviews are going to be great because everyone's going to think they're so original whenever they're like, Avengers Doomsday is right, like.
Yeah. So New Rockstars was speculating that the next movies are Doomsday, and then Doctor Strange 3, Black Panther 3, and then the final Secret Wars. So,
have they decided whether or not they're gonna do something weird with this kid T'Challa thing?
Yeah, I think he'll be. The word going around the street was that they were going to recast T'Challa, but I think that's a misunderstanding. I think they're trying to pick the actor to play the kid. I assume. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
and the thing is you can do a good enough time jump where, like, if I would accept it if you want to make this kid like a teenage Black Panther,
sure,
like a Batman Beyondish type thing. Like Black Panther doesn't have to be in his 30s.
Sure, yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, so that's your MCU news for today. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's jump into Fantastic Four. We got a little bit of tease of what Doctor Doom's plan was when Reed went to check on the kids, and he saw that there was like bugs crawling all over Valeria or some type of hellish vision he saw,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So we get this really great creepy moment where they're all trying to get Valeria is their daughter and the youngest. They're all trying to get her to talk, and she's going to say her first word, and the first word is doom.
Yeah.
It's so good.
How it? I guess like I was gonna say, how do you what do you think that feels like? But at the same time, I don't. Nobody in real life has the relationship that Reed and Victor have, so there's no way that anyone would be able to imagine what that feels like.
It'd be weird, like if the kid said the word name of your wife's ex-husband, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
would just be like, what? Wait, what? or your kid says about Satan or something. It'd be like, oh wait, what? you
yeah.
know?
I will say though, I would rather my kid's first words be Doom than Namor.
Yeah, I figured you were gonna say that. Um,
Oh man, I hate Namor so much, just so much.
I know you do.
Oh man, but yeah. So we are gonna have to clear something up
Uh-huh.
because and so was they said Valeria in the prologue, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The baby's name, or it's the same name as the Doom's teenage girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Valeria. Yeah, they
Okay.
both have the same name.
Okay. Gotcha. Because that I'm
You got to
so
remember, Doom chose the name for Valeria. He helped deliver the child, and he picked the name. So
okay. Gotcha. Because like
yeah.
I guess I'm like for some reason I took that as there was some weird, and I think that happens in here. The naming convention is the thing that is throwing me off. So I'm gonna have you kind of explain it to me.
Okay. I mean, I just think Doom named it after someone he was in love with at one time, Valeria.
Okay.
So I think it's as simple as that. I don't think
Okay.
there's anything too complicated with
Yeah.
that.
Because
Although
I
Valeria's backstory is incredibly complicated and
yeah
confusing. So
yeah like I guess I took it as because he makes his new armor out of Valeria, and I guess I assume
the
right.
teenage Latvian girl, yes.
Yeah. And I guess for some reason I assumed in some way she was connected to Valeria Richards, and so in a way he made the suit out of Valeria Richards is the way I took it.
No, some of the like Wikipedia described Valeria Richards as Doom's familiar. Like witches and wizards have familiars.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to think too much about that because you start getting into weird territory. It's like at the end of Twilight where what's his name, Jacob the wolf,
Yeah.
imprint on the girl or whatever. You're like, what, ew.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
um,
and but that's why I thought it was honestly, my mind actually did go there with Doctor Doom, and it wouldn't have surprised me either, which is why my mind went there. My mind went
well, I
there.
mean, we literally saw him sell his love to demons. The girl he was in love with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would not surprise me if he did something like that. But you'll find that Doctor Doom truly cares for Valeria Richards, like a father-daughter type relationship,
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
especially in Jonathan Hickman's run. You'll see that quite a bit. And she even calls him like Uncle Doom and stuff. So, like Doom hates the Fantastic Four family, but he loves Valeria. So
Okay.
yeah. Um, yeah. So we see that it's been a few days since I've read this, but I think that they start realizing that Doom is going to show up and attack. So they're trying to get the kids to the portal to send them to hang out with the Inhumans for protection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a trap. It's like a portal to hell opens.
Well, and depending on who you are, hanging out with the Inhumans is kind of like hell.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
I'm. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna start dumping on everything I hate about, because it's so weird how like separately I've always hated the Inhumans. Separately, I've always hated Namor, and then it turns out the thing that connects them is the Fantastic Four.
Sure, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
I want to establish though, I really like this arc.
So we see Johnny. He flies into the hell portal trying to save Franklin, and Johnny gets burnt by hellfire and gets really
Mhm.
messed up, which is it's pretty cool because usually fire does not hurt Johnny,
Yep.
and yeah, so this is
Yeah. I almost wonder if Hellfire in this works the same way that Hellfire does in Ghost Rider. Did Mark Waid ever write any Ghost Rider?
not that I know of. I know Jason
Okay.
Aaron had a Ghost Rider run. I've got the
Okay.
omnibus of over there.
Gotcha. Because in Ghost Rider, the way Hellfire works is Hellfire is actually very cold, but it burns the soul.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, basically they pull Johnny out there, and Franklin's just trapped in hell. He's just gone, and Reed kind of he loses it. I think at this point, no, Doom doesn't have Valeria yet at this point. So
No.
they go to fight Doom, and they realize they're outmatched, and Thing runs away with Valeria, and that's when Doom captures Valeria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically Reed's like, look, you want your kid back, you'll have to surrender. And Reed agrees to surrender, and he's like, okay, I'll let go of Franklin. He's still in hell though. Sorry. And this is one of those classic supervillain moments where the villain's won, but it's like when they leave James Bond tied up to a chair. He gives them a way to escape, with the inept guard. And
do you remember Austin Powers?
yes,
Like,
yeah.
I got a gun in my room. I could go in there, pop. You just don't get it, do you, Scott?
You don't get it. Get in this right now.
Oh man, that's on
one inept guard.
that's on the movie list, right? Like, so you've seen the first one. Have you seen the other two?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I historically hate Austin Powers too because of the intro of the movie, but
oh yeah,
that'll get us way off track if I start talking about Vanessa and everything.
Yeah.
So because I think Austin Powers 1 is like perfect, and then Austin Powers 2 like ruins it all.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so one thing that Doom is doing here with his magic, he's making all the Fantastic Four swap powers. So I think Sue, which one is Sue? Is she? I'm already forgetting. I know Thing's just getting beat up, and then Sue is stretchy, and I think Human Torch is invisible.
If I can ask, which by the way, the whole switching powers thing that totally reminded me of Rise of Silver Surfer,
which I've never seen.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I think it's the second best Fantastic Four movie. So does Doom, is that like has he always known magic, or like what's the backstory between Doom and like actual magic?
Yes, he has always dabbled in magic since his very first appearance, because when they met in college, he was trying to bring his mom back, or reach his mom's spirit in hell. That was the machine he was building, but his mom was always a witch.
Okay.
So magic runs in his family. So yeah, and I think he tapped into it more after he became Doom, after he was hanging out with the monks and all that. But yeah, magic has always been at his disposal, I should say.
Has there ever been a because so Doctor Strange is involved in this story as well. Has there ever been like just like a Doctor Strange story where Doom is like separate from the Fantastic Four, like Doom is just doing stuff?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Hold on. Let me pull this up. This is a very famous story about and Google's being stupid. Hold on. It's a very famous story about what I'm talking about with Doctor Doom's mom. So we'll probably put this on the reading list. This will probably be a good one to read soon.
Okay.
If I can pull up the image.
You know what actually does make Doom really cool? It marries the thing about Iron Man that like I'm not too much of a fan of. So like which is Triumph and Torment. I think I've heard of that actually. Okay. I've never read it.
This. Yeah, I've never read it. But
Okay.
this is Doctor Doom going to hell to rescue his mother.
Oh my gosh, it's Roger Stern and Mike Mignola. Okay, yeah, this is Roger Stern and Mike Mignola. This has to be like fantastic, right?
Oh yeah, this is cleared a classic. Yeah, so yeah, I think we'll have to check this one out definitely. We'll check and see if it's on Marvel Online. I'm sure it is.
I've actually got my iPad here in front of me. I'll go ahead and check that. But yeah, so the thing about Iron Man is his arch nemesis is the Mandarin, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether or not I like the adversarial relationship between Tony and the Mandarin is neither here nor there. But one of the things that I've always thought was interesting about it is it was the classic technology versus magic idea. But usually in your fantasy stories, magic is the good guy and technology is the bad guy. But it's the reverse, which Tony is the good guy, he uses technology, and Mandarin using magic is the bad guy. If you think about it, Doctor Doom is kind of like a combination of the two, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got the magic and the technology.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's super interesting.
And he has the intellect. He's very dangerous.
Yes.
So I think one thing both these stories is we're getting a really deep dive into Reed Richards' character in both of these stories. It's about, yes, he's extremely smart, but he thinks he can solve everything through his intellect. And in both these stories, we see how that becomes a problem, because he's put in a situation here where now Doom is locking him in a room, and he's like, "You can get out, but you gotta use magic." And Reed doesn't believe in magic. He's an intellectual.
Which that's also something that I've had with Batman is like whenever Batman hangs out with the Justice League Dark and like he doesn't believe in magic, and I'm like, well, you dated Zatanna. John Constantine's right there. There's a literal demon to your left.
It's weird. It'd be like an atheist that hung out with Jesus all the time and go, I don't believe in God. It's like, well, he's right there.
That's one of the things that I've been. So I've actually pivoted from X-Files. I like X-Files, and the thing with X-Files is that what's her name?
Scully.
Scully's always hanging out with Mulder, and like by episode 3, you'd think she'd believe, right? I've actually started watching this other show that's on like I think it's on like CBS or like it eventually went to Netflix. It's called Evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Mike Coulter in it, and it is just X-Files, but it's like the occult and like angels and demons instead of aliens. It's really cool. I recommend it. And so it's like a scientist, not a scientist, but a psychologist who hangs out with a priest, and they have to decide whether or not a person is crazy or if they're possessed by a demon. And it's very X-Files like. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like by episode 3, you're like, wait a second, hold on. How many times have you seen this demon? How many times have you been abducted by aliens? You're still not on board yet.
Yeah, and I think if I recall, it's been a long time since I watched X-Files. I think by the end, Scully does come around, but yeah, it's one of those things where like, okay, come on, for real,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. So basically, Reed is trapped in this room. And he has to learn a spell, and he starts getting contacted by Doctor Strange, and we see that Doctor Strange has been that Doom has assaulted him and basically disabled him. He's got demons attacking him, his physical form.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So his astral body form is contacting Reed and trying to teach him how to use magic.
And he still doesn't believe.
And he's still like, I don't know about this. There's a ghost talking to me. I don't. Yeah, it's like, come on.
By the way, it is on Marvel Unlimited. It is actually a single graphic novel issue, 81 pages.
Yeah. I knew it was like one of their prestige format things. Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely is there. So I will put that on the. Do they have like a reading list option on here? I think so.
You can add it to your library.
There we go.
I've got a bunch of stuff in there, so we'll
yeah,
see.
There comes a point where save to library is just another. Where am I going to find this? Sometimes it's just easier to search it rather than looking in your library.
Yeah. So we didn't make a slideshow for this episode, so I'm gonna steal from this website. This website's called Discomfort Food Comics, which is a great name. So here's the image of Valeria with the bugs.
Yep.
And then yeah, artists always have trouble drawing babies. I don't know why. But here's Valeria's floating head. Fun times. And then here was where Doom basically sold his teenage love to the demons.
Do they ever establish if it's Mephisto or not?
These 3 demons, they say, were like underlings of Mephisto, I think.
Okay.
So it wasn't Mephisto directly, but partially. Okay, so we'll get there in a second. So,
which now that I think about it, this is also probably another reason why this is so my bag, is because I love stuff like Justice League Dark and Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange, and I've said that the thing that the MCU gets constantly right is the Marvel Mystic. Everything else is kind of hit or miss, but they always really do get the magic stuff right. So that's probably why this is also my bag.
Yeah. Yeah, this story's crazy. It's not, you typically Fantastic Four doesn't typically deal with demons, so this is a little different than the usual.
Yeah. It just so happens that like the one time you're like, I'm going to introduce you to Fantastic Four, it's the one that like if this is the one demon story the Fantastic Four ever do, you picked the right one for me.
Well, it's a good story. I really like this one. Well, I'll get to it at the end. Well, so Reed figures out how to teleport out of the place, and I can't remember, do they free Doctor Strange, or they're trying to, and they figure out that the way to defeat Doom is to trick him into going against his deal with the demons. And so the demons get upset, and they start pulling Doom's soul into hell. This panel here, where Doom apologizes, I know he's tricking him, but also seems out of character for Doom. Like, Doom would never say this. This would probably be my one problem with this story.
Yeah, like Doom wouldn't. It's one of those things that Doom would never utter, even if he's like lying. You know, first of all, I don't think that Doom is the Doom is not like Frieza or Shang Tsung. You know, he's not a sniveling, conniving villain. Like
Hmm.
he's the villain who will tell you, like he's not going to resort to. He's not Loki. He's not going to resort to mischief and trickery to defeat the Fantastic Four. He is going to do it on his own merit, quote unquote, the honorable way. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even the reviewer here says for many Doom fans, all this is a step too far. The Doom they love would consider it deeply dishonorably to betray the spirit of his word, as repeatedly does an unthinkable. But he goes down here that he think Wade is just saying that everything Doom does is a performance, that he's full of crap. I don't know. To me, like I said, this feels out of character for Doom. What happens though is Doom leaves him with a lasting gift, and he touches Reed's face and severely burns him. I don't know if he'll have the picture in here. Don't see it. But
I'll see if I can find it.
yeah, so he leaves Reed burnt, like his face, like half his face is burnt, kind of like Two-Face a little bit, and it's done in such a way that Reed cannot correct it. He cannot cover it up. He cannot stretch the skin. He's just stuck with it. And it's a reminder of what Doom did to his family. They also rescue Franklin at this point, and I'm glad we get the next couple of issues where they're trying to help Franklin, because there's so many stories that would have finished this up and said, okay, on to the next adventure. And Franklin was in hell. This is like the worst fate possible. Yeah, there's the face. And I think Franklin's like 10 years old. You're a 10-year-old kid who's thrown into hell, and he wasn't there for like just like a minute. He was there for like days.
Yeah.
And so the next story is really about the traumatic effect that had on him,
which is interesting because how much did we know about Franklin at this time?
Oh, at this time, we know that he has godlike powers. They're probably, I think they're turned off at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But yes, he has historically had the powers of a god.
Gotcha. Because like that would have been nice to know that they were turned off at that point, because like at that point I'm reading this like, okay, he's not locked in hell, they're locked in there with him, like
yeah, he will often, because his powers are so dangerous, he will use his powers himself to turn off his powers, if that makes sense. He controls reality, so he's like, okay, I have no powers, and he'll just take them away.
Does he give himself, how does he, like,
it just happens in other stories. Sometimes his future self will show up and do it. It's weird stuff. So other times he's lying. He says he has no powers, or he allows himself to have powers once a year. Like he's got set so once a year his powers come back, and then he can decide what he's going to do. So
okay,
there's a really great story where once a year he lets his powers come back, and he'll scan the next year of future events, and if there's something that's a threat to the world that his family can't handle, he'll go ahead and take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a story where he does that, and then what is his name, the guy from Salem 7, Scratch, Nicholas Scratch.
Yeah, Scratch.
He sees this happening, and he undoes what Franklin did to save the world, like from all these meteorites. And so and Franklin doesn't know he did that. So now Franklin has no powers, and this threat that the Fantastic Four cannot, like Franklin saw the future. Fantastic Four will die facing this threat, and so he undoes it. But then Nicholas Scratch undoes that, And so now the Fantastic Four have to figure out a way to use their powers they've never done before to stop the meteors. And it's a really great story. It's really cool how even with his godlike powers, Franklin couldn't see that they were, capable of saving the day. And it's really neat.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm
anyhow.
also a fan of Nicholas Scratch as well, so that one sounds fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the Fantastic Four. I think they're the coolest. But anyhow, I know you're not quite there yet. But
I mean,
we'll get you there.
I don't think I'll ever be at the point where I'll say they're the coolest. I think that's kind of the point, though. Like I don't think I don't think Superman's the coolest.
Yeah, but the Fantastic Four, I think there's nothing they can't figure out.
Right.
They, and we'll see here that Reed's going to solve problems, even if it is. We'll see an authoritative action, even if it costs him everything. He can figure out a way to solve the problem. So, getting back to Franklin, he's traumatized by the hellfire, and he still is having visions that he is in hell, that he never left. And so Sue and Thing have to help him. Meanwhile, Reed is just he's becoming cold and distant. He's trying to he's in a slump. He can't figure out things. And so Johnny's like, I know what to do. We'll use Doom's time machine. We'll go back in time, and I'm going to hand you a rifle. And if you want to kill Doom, you go right ahead. It's the old, if you could travel back in time and kill a certain baby before World War II, would you do it?
Maximum effort.
Yeah. And then Reed pulls the trigger. Johnny's like, whoa, what are you doing? And he didn't actually shoot Doom, but he did graze him and shot off some of his hair, which is a heck of a shot. And and we'll find out later what he is doing with that hair sample. But and you can see that Reed has come up with some type of plan. So the next storyline is Latveria doesn't have a leader no more because Doom is in hell. So the Fantastic Four, Reed shows up and decides he's going to conquer Latveria. So what were you thinking with this story? When also they're just invading Latveria, and what the heck Reed is up to with all this?
I thought that. So this is actually a story that was going on a lot at the time in Marvel Comics. Actually, so what year was this again?
2002, 2003. I think it's pre-Civil War.
Okay. Well, so a lot, at least two other books sort of did this at the time. Bendis's Daredevil in the first story arc deals with the first story arc has the Kingpin being killed Julius Caesar style by his crew whenever a new Brutus guy comes in and tells them everything, and so that there's several story arcs post that in the Bendis arc that deal with kind of the power vacuum that is left whenever Kingpin is murdered. And at the same time, you had Brubaker writing Captain America, which the Winter Soldier story arc, I think it's the first panel. It opens with Red Skull being killed. So honestly, this is actually a story arc that was going on in a couple of books with Marvel at the time. So I thought, as I'm reading this, I thought back to Brubaker and I thought back to Bendis. I'm like, oh, okay, so this was going on a lot of the time, which is not a bad thing because Brubaker's Captain America and Bendis's Daredevil are some of the greatest story runs on comics of all time. And so whenever we get here, that boded very well for Wade's Fantastic Four because if I could compare it to Bendis and Brubaker, that is 100% a compliment.
Yeah, there was a weird thing going on before this in the 90s, especially late 90s. And I think maybe it has something to do with Bob Harris being the main editor, where they would kill off the main character of a book, and then that, or not the main character, the main villain of a book, and then that thing would come back like every 20 issues, and they would kill it again over and over.
Mhm.
It's like Magneto would show up, and then he'd be taken off the, he was comatose for, 30 issues, and then he'd come back, and then he was, this or that or whatever. And so same thing with Doom, same thing with Red Skull. And I hate that myself. I like them being supporting characters. I like it more when Magneto's around doing stuff,
I actually have a pitch that I have outlined. Let's say I ever get the chance to write, maybe 24, 48, 50, 75 issue, whatever. If I ever get the chance to write, a Batman comic for an extensive run, my first story arc is my first story arc is the death of the Joker, and then the follow-up story arcs kind of have to deal with that power vacuum that is left with the death of the Joker, and then because I think the important thing whenever you have stuff like Bendis's Daredevil, Brubaker's Captain America, and we will see with Wade, not entirely sure yet, the key factor whenever it comes to a story arc like this that really create, where you kill off your main villain and then you're dealing with the power vacuum. And specifically in comics, because in Arkham City, they kill off Joker, and then Arkham Knight deals with the power vacuum, and that's it. The key thing in comics and ongoing works is you also have to put the toys back where you found them. And so by the end of Bendis's Daredevil, Kingpin is around again. By the end of Bendis's Captain America, it is Red Skull is around again, and so in my idea, you kill off the Joker, then you deal with that power vacuum, and then there's maybe a 3-story arc trilogy that deals with what actually happened to the Joker. Is he really dead? Stuff like that. So I'm actually a big fan of this trope, but you have to like I said, you have to put the toys back where you found them before you're done.
And I agree with that sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I really like what you did with the character. Let's leave it.
Yeah.
I like Age of Venom. Leave him that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then that's another thing is if you've got there aren't that many in continuity deaths of the Joker or Red Skull or Kingpin. If it was overdone, then that would be a problem. So if you're talking about in the 90s where they kept killing off Magneto every 20 issues, then yeah, I mean that has nothing. The problem is not the death of Magneto. The problem is they keep doing it every 20 issues.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's get back to the story. Let's
yeah.
So while you've been talking, I've been trying to find images of the storyline, and they just don't seem to exist.
Yeah, that's what we really need to start doing is as we're reading these, we need to oh, this is a cool panel, and take a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm being completely honest, Wade's Fantastic Four, let's go ahead and compare it to Bendis's Daredevil or Brubaker's Captain America. As far as popularity goes, this is not Bendis's Daredevil or Brubaker's Captain America. If we ever review those, there's going to be an endless supply of pictures and panels online. This one, it's very good. It is not up to that popularity that Bendis or Brubaker had.
Not even that. I think it came out a few years earlier, and the internet was still a little bit in its infancy, so a lot of it just wasn't online.
Sure. I think this came out around the time of Brubaker's, but yeah, or Bendis's Daredevil. But yeah, I think Brubaker's Captain America was like more 2004, 2005.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I've found some panels.
Plus, you've also got the fact that the first season of Daredevil on Netflix was like super much inspired by Bendis's Daredevil. So you had like people going back and reading it. It became popular, and so people were uploading images and whatnot. We really haven't gotten a good Fantastic Four adaptation that would rival the Winter Soldier or Netflix's Daredevil.
Oh no.
Yes, so this really does come down to like the reason we can't find these images is just because, let's be honest, the Fantastic Four are not as popular as they should be. We'll say.
Yeah, I agree with that. So for most of the story, we don't know what Reed is up to. He is taking over Latveria, and he's keeping the rest of the family in the dark, or keeping them busy so they don't ask questions. And one of the things about Latveria is the people there actually love Doom. They're fearful of him, but he does take good care of them. He does, meet their needs.
Yeah, I mean that has always been my favorite thing about Doom. Is he's right. There are certain stories I'm not gonna be able to like put the citation there, but I mean there's at least one, maybe two story arcs where Doom actually does succeed in taking over the world, and it's this beautiful utopia and like world peace, and everyone's happy. So like Doom's right, but it's also like, well, you can't take away like we don't need a one world dictator.
Right.
So
love freedom.
Yeah. So it's that's why I compare Doom to Lex Luthor, is because if you take away Lex's hatred of Superman and Reed's and Doom's hatred of Reed, man, you have got the two greatest philanthropists the world has ever known.
Yeah. So what we see happen here is Reed reveals to people how evil Doom was. There was an executioner room for dissidents that they didn't know about. He reveals that to them. He lets the people raid Doom's castle, and then they find the weapons room for Doom. So the Fantastic Four disable all of those. And while all this is happening, the neighboring countries are wanting to invade Latveria, and the United Nations is very upset that Reed did this without asking anybody. He just decided he was going to take over our country. So Nick Fury is involved, and this is OG classic Nick Fury. And when you see this, you realize, oh man, I really miss Nick Fury. And
where's David Hasselhoff at?
Yeah, well, I mean, Nick Fury Jr. just does not do it for me at all. He never has. I mean,
I'll be honest, I still don't get the Nick Fury Jr. thing. I don't know how that works. Was that like a Secret Wars thing? I don't know.
It was just revealed that Nick Fury had a son he didn't know about, and
they're the same age. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, Nick takes it's not the super soldier serum, it's something else. So Nick is like 100 years old.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's one of those wacky things.
Senior or junior?
Senior.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So anyhow, so Nick Fury is trying to stop the UN, but they end up attacking, and so all the Fantastic Four except for Reed go out to confront them. And while they're confronting the soldiers, Reed sneaks off and does his ultimate plan, where he's basically going to not really unalive himself, but he is going to. You're never going to see Reed again. And
Mhm.
what he has done is he has built a kind of a infinite jail cell, a cell that he'll be trapped in forever with Doom, and they'll be trapped in there. There'll be no way in, no way out, and this way he can keep an eye on Doom forever, and Doom can never hurt his family again. And so he sets a bomb that's going to go off and destroy all this, or destroy the technology so they could never get in there. And the Invisible Woman, you can see a force field goes around and it stops the explosion. So they're able to use the device to follow Reed in there. But yeah, the cell he builds is really cool. You can see it here. That it's like all the classic images from old Fantastic Four moments. Like it's every Doom moment is playing on loop, and they're going to be in there just forever. And like if you try to leave, you run out one door, you just come back in the other door, and you're just trapped in this room. It's a Mobius a loop.
You know what I would really like, that I think would be really cool? This is the type of storyline that Jonathan Hickman could like bring back for like a Maker storyline, because like this really does seem like so the thing that leads to Reed becoming the Maker is Reed's inherent need for control. And this is just, at least in 616, this is probably as far as I've seen Reed go to hold on to control to protect his family, you know?
Yeah, this is Reed at his limits. I mean, his son was thrown to hell, and he's like, "That's it,
Yeah,
we are done."
he is. It's one of those things where, like, if you know, this is as far as Reed can go. But if at any point Doom gets under his skin and Reed kills him, at that point 616 has made the Maker. um and so I think it'd be really cool for Hickman to like look at this, bring this back for like I you know, we don't really know where he's going with the new Ultimate Universe. You know, right now it's just a grand old time because it's really good. Um, but I mean, this is something that could be brought back to be like, see, it's not just me. Any Reed has the capability of becoming the Maker.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's what makes our Reed special is he doesn't go there.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's that in that storyline, that's where you would want to prove the Maker wrong. That the Maker, that Ultimate Reed is the only one. It is just him who lost. He made his choice. It's not like they're all destined to become the Maker. He made his choices. Um and he is the only Maker in the universe. Every other Reed overcame. It was just him who failed.
Mm-hmm. So we see Doom's about to do his old mind transfer trick that he can do, and Reed's like, "Go ahead. We're only two here. You'll never get out. Whatever." And so then we see that the let's see, Reed. Oh yeah, Doom's like, you would never do this. You would never give up your family. And he's like, "You drove me to this. There was no other choice because you're just gonna keep coming after my family, and I can't allow it."
Yeah.
And I get it. As a father, I get it. um, so anyhow, they're both talking about how they're trapped there. Well, then the other fans four show up, and Reed just flips out because he's like, "You left the door open. What have you done?" And we see them escape from the cell, and we don't know where he's at. We don't know where Doom is at. He has jumped into somebody's body, and then we realize it's Sue, and that's the worst one you could jump into because she is the strongest of the four.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then
she,
there's also like the like if he jumped into Ben, man, that that's my best friend. He jumps into Johnny. That's my brother-in-law. That's my wife. You know.
yeah. But even if he jumped into Ben or Human Torch, Invisible Woman could take them out easily.
Yes. Yeah.
Except with Invisible Woman,
Like,
there's a it's going to be tough to defeat
right.
Sue.
Right. Exactly. There's a not only a emotional blow, but also a physical threat to jumping into Invisible Woman.
Yeah. So we get this crazy fight. Yeah, I agree. They're saying this cover's generic. Yeah, for what's inside the book, it's a very generic cover.
It's the weirdest thing, and I meant to bring that up, so I'm glad you brought it up. I'll be honest, a lot of these covers kind of suck. Like,
yeah, they all do. Yeah, except for that Doom one. Yeah,
yeah. The one where Doom is standing amidst fire and it says unthinkable. Everything else is like, oh, cool. We're at the Empire State Building.
yeah, and what you got to remember, I told you that Wade gets fired during this run, and we'll get that here in a second. So you got all this happening, and Reed's freaking out because Sue has been taken over, and people are always like, oh, what can Sue do? She can turn invisible and make force fields. Big whoop. I mean, she could kill you instantly.
Yeah.
She could just put a force field in your brain and you're dead. I mean, it's over.
Force field in your brain, force field around you and crush you. Yeah, just. And not only that, she's Invisible Woman, so like even if he couldn't take down everybody, he can turn invisible and get out of there.
Yeah, it is a huge threat. He could make the whole room invisible, you invisible, everything. You wouldn't even know what was happening.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what happens, but they exhaust Sue so that Doom has to jump to a different body. So he ends up inside Johnny this time. Oh, that's right. Thing and them they hit the force field, it overwhelms him, and so he jumps into Johnny. And because of that, Sue is kind of out of the picture. Sue can't help them now because she's out of it.
Yep. It kind of reminded me of Dragon Ball Z, where they take down Ginyu in Goku's body. Yeah. And so then Goku has to recuperate, and then Frieza shows up, and they're like, "Oh man, Goku! We just kicked the crap out of Goku. He's got to rest, and now we got to deal with Frieza."
Yeah. So this is very much like the Ginyu fight, and Johnny's probably the second one you don't want to have Doom jump into because Johnny's extremely powerful. He could vaporize everybody in the room instantly if he wanted to.
They just keep Ben around because he's the nice guy, you know.
Yeah, he's the heart of the team.
He's not powerful at all.
Yeah, so they see that they've ruined the picture of Doom's mom. They did that a couple issues ago. The villagers did, and so Doom, just snaps and he jumps into Reed's best friend Thing, and then he's using Thing to kill Human Torch. He's like snapping his neck. He's like, the only way you can stop me is if you kill the Thing. And Sue can't use a force field, and you can hear the bones popping and cracking and stuff. It's really terrifying. And then so right here he's about to snap his neck, and then Thing is begging him to kill me. Because even though there's this huge rivalry between Thing and Human Torch, they are best friends, and Thing is crying, and so then Reed shoots him. He kills Thing. And then we see the fallout from this. The Fantastic Four have kind of split up after this, and then Reed calls Sue and says, we're going to go get Thing back. I'm going to figure out a way to bring my best friend back. And that's how the story ends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Mark Waid was fired from the book.
Really? This
with
is it.
Thing dead, and them saying we're gonna get him back, and Marvel, and I think it was Gemmis that fired him, and the fans threw a fit. They're like, "Nope, Wade's got to finish the story," and so they brought Wade back to finish the story and finish his run. But yeah, this is where Wade was fired, and Marvel editorial has a history of doing stupid things like this. We saw it with the Hobgoblin story way back when, where they will fire somebody before they finish their story, and it's so annoying when they do this. So yeah, this is like the worst cliffhanger ever, and they they fired him.
Like it. Imagine. I'm trying to think of like.
Imagine Marvel fired the Russo brothers after Infinity War. That's kind of like what this is.
No. Imagine this. Imagine they fire Hickman right after the death of Johnny Storm.
Yeah. Or George Lucas is fired after Empire Strikes Back, or any number of things. It's just like, wait, what? What are you doing? Yeah. So thankfully, and Gemmis was always doing kind of stunts. Maybe this was always the plan. Like this was his way of getting people excited about Phase 4, is create this fake controversy. That would not surprise me at all if Gemmis he was always doing stuff like that. But yeah. So we're not going to read the entire Wade run. We're going to end it after the next story arc hereafter. It's only going to be 4 issues. And so we're going to loop back to this in 2 weeks to finish this up.
What we could do, because hereafter is only 4 issues, we could go ahead and read Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom as well if we want to.
That sounds great. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll do hereafter, and was it Triumph and Torment?
Yes.
Cool. We will do
that sounds like a good plan. Yeah, so without getting too spoilery, we just saw the Fantastic Four go through hell, and now we're gonna see them go through heaven. So
okay. That I don't know why I assumed that. I don't know why I assume Ben went to hell. Maybe that says more about me than Ben. But...
Ben's a good Jewish boy. Oh, come
on. Oh man, yeah. It's. I am actually really curious how they intend on adapting the Fantastic Four, because it seems that all of the Fantastic Four stuff that I like is stuff that's like really hard to adapt, because I feel like this would be really hard to adapt. The Maker is really hard to adapt. And so I'm like, maybe Fantastic Four, it's just going to be what science adventures. That's what it's going to be.
But this is such a Fantastic Four thing to do, is, oh, my friend died, let's go on an adventure to heaven to go get him back. That's not something like Batman would do, or what I'm saying. That's a Fantastic Four thing. They are explorers, and they're going to explore everything.
Well, you say that, but there was a Tomasi storyline in the New 52. It was either New 52 or Batman and Robin, where Damian died and Batman went to hell to save him.
Yeah, but you know what I was.
I know exactly what you mean.
That is not something Daredevil would do, or even Spider-Man would not. Someone's gonna say, "Well, there was that story." Yeah, I know, but
no.
This is like a typical day in Fantastic Four. Oh, we're going to heaven today. Yeah. Cool, let's go.
No, what Spider-Man needs to do is he needs to go to hell and be like, "Hey."
Why have we not gotten that story?
Spider-Man goes to hell, is like, "Hey, Mephisto, why did you let me get away with one more day? You didn't punish me at all after that."
Yeah, you brought my friend back to life. Thanks.
Why? Or like, what if Johnny Blaze was like right there and be like, "Hey, why didn't you give Aunt May like a heart attack?" Well, what do you mean? Yeah, like I sold my soul to you, and then you killed my dad anyway.
Yeah.
Oh
The
yeah.
double cross. Oh yeah, that's what I do. I'm a devil. Oh yeah.
I
Ugh.
forgot to do that part. Sorry, man.
That story. Ugh.
Oh man, I've heard that like One More Day is an idea for the next Spider-Man
Spider-Man
movie,
movie. Yeah.
and I'm like, come on, man, like.
Yeah. That's another conversation. So, um, I don't know if you looked and saw who the next writers were on Phase Four
I,
after
I
Wade.
did. I didn't.
Okay, so I think McDuffie is next,
Oh, okay.
and he brings on, I think, Black Panther and Storm join the team, and Reed and Sue leave for a while. Then I think Straczynski has a run, and then I think it's Mark Millar after that. And then the Mark Millar run is interesting, but then he leaves the book towards the end and doesn't finish the story. I don't know if he got sick or got fired or what. So the storyline just doesn't go anywhere.
Well, when does Millar go on? Because is that around the time of Civil War?
I think it was after.
Okay.
This was around the time he was doing this was after he did Old Man Logan
Oh,
because
that's definitely Old Man Logan's like
the
2007.
yeah, because he picks up parts of that story in the Fantasy Four run, like the stuff with the baby at the end and stuff. Continues on into that's where you get Hulk Jr. and all that stuff in Fantasy Four. So, and I don't know if that's the next time Doom shows up as Millar's run, if he appears before then, because I know there's a whole thing about Doom and Hell in the Millar story about him becoming like the master of Hell and all this stuff. And
I do think that it's cool whenever you kill off a character and it takes them at least a couple years to bring them back. Like, how long did it take them to bring back? Well, I mean, that might have been a little under 10 years that Professor X was dead.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Doom is you're like, oh, they're doing the killed off the villain. He comes back, but if you read Doom, he's been doing that since like day one, like
Yeah.
the very early Phase Four stories. This has always been the Doom thing where he dies and comes back constantly. Same with the Joker. I think at the very first appearance, he dies and comes back. So
there was a line. There was a line in Joker versus Pennywise, the epic rap battle. In my first appearance, the bat he slayed me, but I can't be killed. That's why they cast a phoenix to play me. I love epic rap battles. Sometimes they're not as good, but yeah. So, and not only that, like even if you send someone like Doom or the Joker to hell, I mean, like if anything, that's more advantageous for them than it is for hell.
oh yeah, definitely. All right, so next week, and we're keeping our format of comic books 1 week, movies the next. We're gonna watch a movie that neither of us have seen.
Yeah, I've been wanting to. Funny enough, I haven't seen a whole lot of this famous actor, and I've been wanting to anyway. And so whenever I first saw this on on Netflix, I got excited, and then we said something about doing a Black Hole and The Cobbler, two movies that we believe are like just the worst movies until they go completely insane in the last 5 minutes. But we're like, you know what? We're just now starting this format. Let's stick with good movies for now.
Yeah. I don't want to sit through 4 hours of ugh.
Yeah. So we are going to be watching Paul Newman in the Academy Award-winning and Oscar nominated and winning film, The Sting.
Yeah, this should be really cool. Yeah, I've never seen this. It also has been on my list for a while, so we're gonna check that out next week. So if you want to watch it ahead of time, and then we will discuss it. And if there's a movie you want us to watch, post in the comments. We've got a huge list that we are curating and
Mhm.
going through, and should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like I said, Sting currently on Netflix as well,
And then the week after, we'll be hitting Hereafter
and Triumph and Torment.
and Triumph and Torment. So until then, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.